A young man once said, "I'm in love with Wandavision." Some would call him innocent and naive. How could he have formed his opinion so early? To that, I would like to say, I am still in love with Wandavision. Please be warned, there are spoilers for the show. Where do I begin? Everything in the show was top-notch in my mind. The pitch-perfect performances of Olsen, Bettany, Paris, the twins, and Han, not even including the supporting characters, Jimmy Woo supremacy. Top-notch attention to detail in every era, and a story devoted to mystery and intrigue the whole way through. You came into the show with many questions, and most had wonderful answers. Not all of them, but most. Wanda was one of my very favorite Avengers after Infinity War, but I was worried this show wouldn't do the right things for her. Really, the most important thing this show had to get right was the relationship between Wanda and Vision. What does it look like since, well, Vision is dead? The big question I had going in was whether they would truly commit to showing Wanda's reaction and grief following. This was genuinely my only request for this show. Show Wanda's pain. And they did. And they did. And they did it again. This is a character study in a way no other MCU projects are. What happens to Wanda when her entire world is destroyed? Bad things, apparently. Developing Vision to show just how much a part of her he was fantastic. We see that Vision is Wanda's anchor, her one connection to her life before the Avengers, even if she only met him during it, and without him, she feels completely lost. Wanda's arc needed to be accepting Vision's death and finally moving on, but that isn't easy when Vision himself is so gosh darn lovable. The relationship between the two is elaborated on so much, from Wanda's more eccentric personality to Vision's pragmatic evaluation of any situation, a dynamic that's flipped a couple times throughout. They are, in many senses, the perfect couple, but they're not at all, and therein lies the rub. I'm not sure who proposed showing Wanda's deteriorating mental state through sitcoms, but it was an inspired choice. Each era gives us a clear look at just where Wanda is, emotionally. With the 50s episode, she's living her perfect life in a perfect home, with the boundless optimism of the era. With the 80s episode, she's beginning to tackle the tougher subjects she'd rather ignore, like where did this world come from? And in the 2000s episode, she's embraced nihilism and sees everything as a mistake. Every era is coded directly to her arc, going from blissful denial all the way to melancholy acceptance of the world that isn't real by the end. You couldn't have that acceptance without the foundation of Wanda and Vision's clear love for each other, no matter how tough or terrifying things got. That's a good message. Billy and Tommy, played by Julian Hilliard and Jet Klein, add a great layer to Wanda's world, in that she can't just destroy it now, can she? I expect that by the next time we see them, they'll be aged up again, but I would love to see the two boys back. And Agatha Harkness? She was a wonderful villain to Wanda's anti-hero. I hesitate to call her a true hero because that's not who she is right now, and was a great tool to unlocking Wanda's full power as the Scarlet Witch. And lastly, while never the true focus, something that I think was lost on a lot of people, the real-life stuff was great as well. Sword is a welcome audience surrogate to learning what's going on. Jimmy Woo, Darcy, and especially Monica are all great characters and work very well together, and I was personally a big fan of Hayward and White Vision as well. The Ship of Theseus scene is in my top favorite MCU battles. Sword was mostly the vehicle to setting up the rest of Phase 4, but it still slotted in just fine. And I think that's a good place to start addressing some of the criticisms around the show. It's not a perfect show, of course, and there are a few things that could have used some work. The biggest criticism I've seen is failing to capitalize on setups and cameos. The off-sided example is the finale and the huge amount of rumors it swirled. Mephisto, Doctor Strange, Magneto, a fully powered Quicksilver, all were rumored to appear in the finale and have something to do with the Hex. What we got, though...
Boner?
Boner.
This did not bother me. At all. That's not what the show was meant to do or be. It's meant to be a character study of Wanda and Vision. It was never supposed to be a collection of cameos and new characters all vying for control. This was not meant to be the start of Phase 4, and that's pretty clear just by watching it. Since it was the start of Phase 4, though, everybody expected a bit too much from it, and I understand feeling disappointed, but it's just not what I expected. Sure, Quicksilver being tossed aside is a little annoying, but I have confidence that they'll be able to do something else with him. And if not, well, it was still really cool to see Evan Peters in the MCU. The second criticism is the pacing of the show and how it felt a bit awkward at times. This one holds a bit more water in my mind. We start with 3 episodes that seem to be completely unrelated to the main plot, 5 episodes setting up all of the players and revelations, and then a single episode to wrap everything up? It's definitely weirdly paced. But once again, I think that ties back into the main focus of the show, Wanda's steady decline. The show is built around it, and in that respect, I think it's paced perfectly. You couldn't have such a visible deterioration if you didn't see Wanda's perfect world first. It's not a plot-driven show. It's a character-driven show in every definition of the term. Would it have been better to have 1 or 2 more episodes to answer more questions and give a more satisfying lead-in to the finale? Oh, definitely. I will not argue that fact. And I wouldn't complain at all about getting more content. But what we have is solid. In conclusion, I really, truly love this show. I know some people didn't like the first 3 episodes and quit there. And I know some people who hated the finale and completely wrote it off. But I adore it. And I am really looking forward to seeing where Wanda goes next. She was one of my favorite Avengers before, but now she might even be in the top 3. And Vision is right there next to her. Ratings are a thing people do, so, 9 out of 10? That seems fair. So what'd y'all think? Did you love the show as much as I did, or were you a bit less impressed? To each their own. Please share your thoughts below. And if you'd like more WandaVision stuff from me, I was in a collaboration with Ash and Flash again, so I'll be sure to link that in the description below. And until next time, later.